Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and we're back out here in my hot garage in the middle of summer in North Texas to answer a great question I got from another viewer on one of my range reports on my main channel. Now, I don't remember which video it was. I want to say it was on a German pistol because the commenter was from, I believe, Germany. And they had found my video because they wanted to know more about this particular gun. They probably have an interest in it because it's built in their home country and maybe they can get it. And the question they posed was, why do Americans shoot and review guns at the distances they do? And at first I was kind of taken aback by the question, assuming he was trying to make fun of me because some of my tests in my videos are at shorter distances, like 7 yards. And then I realized that he was asking a very interesting question because he might not understand the perspective of American gun owners and maybe some of the legalities of carrying guns and how we as Americans use guns. So I thought I would explain myself. And even if you're an American shooter, this might make more sense in the decisions that I make for my videos. So the philosophy of my channel in general is that I am an average gun guy creating average gun content for average gun people. I am not a trick shot. I'm not a competitive shooter. I am not here to give you any type of tactical advice. I am not here to make you a better shooter. I am not here to train you. I am not here to impress you. What I am here to do is to highlight firearms that I have the opportunity to shoot or that I find interesting, or even talk about the history of guns and the mechanics of guns. Essentially, it's kind of a geeky channel, right? Obviously, I'm not some type of bearded tactical operator. I don't own a range. I don't train people. I don't do any of that. I'm literally a music teacher that loves guns. That's it. And I just like to document my journey through the firearms world. So when I make the videos that I do, I like to think I'm presenting the firearm and trying to show off the firearm rather than myself as a shooter. Because, I mean, as compared to a lot of the gun porn, I call it, out on the internet, I'm just an average gun shooter. You know, that's it. I mean, I'm not there as I said, doing trick shots. I'm not there to, ring a target at, 200 yards with a 1911. That's just not what I do. I try to present the firearms in ways that I think, for the most part, American shooters are going to use their guns and think about using their guns because that's my primary audience. I know people from all around the world watch my videos. And it's awesome when people say, hey, I'm watching from Guam or Brazil or Australia or the Philippines. I mean, it's so cool to think that what I create here in my garage reaches these people all over the world. But my primary audience is American shooters and American gun owners. And I think that sometimes people around the world, while they think they understand American gun culture, I think it's very misrepresented both in television and movies, but also in the gun tubiverse because they think it's all macho. You know, they see all these trainers, the bearded tacticians, they see people doing run and gun courses. They see the amazing work of exhibition shooters that can just do phenomenal things. And I try to review guns from a practical standpoint, meaning Americans, for the most part around the country, have access to concealed carry permits or live in states where you don't need a permit, like here in Texas, and you can open and conceal carry. I mean, guns are everywhere. Even in some of the most restricted states, like California, New York, they still have to issue permits. And, we're still dealing with some of the constitutionality of the restrictions that they have there and so forth. But for the most part, there's an ability to carry a firearm in every state. Now, with that right to carry firearms comes responsibilities and liability. So, for example, one of the guns of my carry rotation is my Colt Commander Lightweight. I love this gun. It's a 100 years of service one. So this one was made in 2011. Love it. I shoot it good. Just one of my favorite Colts. But when I carry this gun and I have it on me, not only do I think about the ramifications of, having to use it in a self-defense scenario if that ever arose, but I also have to think about when I would use it. So if, as an American, I had to pull my gun, according to the FBI's crime statistics, self-defense shootings, I think, follow the rule of three. 3 shots at 3 yards in 3 seconds. That's typically, or maybe it's 3 feet. I forgot. It's one of those distances. Anyway, it's very close. 3 shots, 3 seconds, and it's over. So all of the movies and television shows where they show people shooting, halfway across a warehouse or whatever, or you see these exhibition shooters, as I said, shooting a 1911 at 200 yards and dinging a metal target, or watching YouTube stars do trick shots. That's not practical. In fact, if I pulled this firearm in self-defense, let's just say I was out and about and somebody was harassing my family, and I presented the firearm because I felt that my life or my family's life was in danger. The closer that person is to me and what they're doing puts me in less legal jeopardy and liability, meaning I have more of a right to defend myself. But once that distance is expanded, let's just say I present the firearm, someone is harassing us, and I have to draw the weapon, not pointed at them, but essentially unholster the weapon and have it presented, maybe kind of like a low ready. And the person sees it, and they decide it's time to de-escalate, and they move back. They're in the process, whether they're facing me and begin to step back, or they turn and run. At that point, I am no longer legally allowed to fire the weapon in self-defense, because now the threat has been diminished. It has been de-escalated. And personally, I never, ever, I hope and pray I never have to discharge a weapon in the defense of my life and have to shoot somebody. If somebody breaks into my house, I have no choice, right? If somebody in public tries to attack me or my family with a knife or a gun, I have no choice. But I don't want that to be something. I don't wake up every day saying, oh my God, I hope this happens. I pray to God it never, ever happens. But like having a fire extinguisher, that's why I have these and why I carry them. But once that person in that scenario that I mentioned began to pull back and go, okay, I don't want any part of this. Now I have no legal right to discharge my weapon. And I'm glad that he hopefully learned his lesson, and he's going to back off and live to see another day. And my family lives to see another day, right? And then I can simply just reholster, situation diffused, and it's over. That's the goal, But let's just say there's a situation where he might back up and he escalates again. All of these engagements are, for the most part, statistically going to be at very short distances. So normally my tests, my first shots, are always at 7 yards when I do pistols, because the first shots are not really to demonstrate the gun's accuracy necessarily. It's for me to get familiarized with the gun. And they often are truly my first shots. I want to know, is the gun reliable? I want to know what the gun feels like in my hand. I generally want to know, where am I hitting on the target? Because if I start off at 25 yards and I'm using iron sights and I put 5 or 6 rounds down range and I'm not even hitting the target, I don't know if I'm high, to the right, to the left. I have no idea. So 7 yards is close enough that if the sights are really off, I'm able to go, okay, this thing shoots way to the right. This thing shoots way to the left. I'm way high, way low. And then as I go out to further distances, I know where to hold. But I'm also, as I mentioned, just trying to make sure, does the gun run? Does it feed? Does it eject? What's the recoil like? What can I expect as I proceed through my tests? But then I go to the further distance tests like 15 yards and 25 yards, and those are really accuracy tests. Then I move to the hollow point test, just to make sure that if you used a gun like this in self-defense, that it would feed hollow points. And I've discovered some guns a little bit more fidgety with them, I do those at 7 yards because of that rule. If I had to use this gun in self-defense, statistically, it's going to be at less than 7 yards. I don't need to be trying to hit the targets at 25 or 50 yards in this test. Same thing goes with my quick magazine change tests or my mag dump tests. Maybe there's an argument to be made that if I'm running a rifle or a PCC, the target needs to be out further, and I actually do that. You might not notice, but when it comes to anything that is shouldered, I never shoot at paper closer than 10 yards. My first shots with a PCC is 10 yards. When I do my mag dump at 10 yards, 12 yards, 15 yards, usually in that range. Because those are weapons, especially PCCs, designed for close quarters combat, home defense, where the distances, if somebody broke into my house, I know that if I got out of my bedroom, I have, 15, 20, 25 feet or more, or between me and the front door, or I have to shoot across the house, or what have you. The distances are bigger. So that's why I shoot further distances with PCCs. But with handguns, typically most Americans will use them at those distances. So I try to review them from those practical distances that Americans would use them in a self-defense scenario, but also the way that they would shoot them at most ranges, most indoor ranges that I think people go to nowadays. Yes, there's a lot of outdoor ranges. Typically, pistol ranges are at 25 yards and less. And often, they're at 10 yards or 15 yards. I know a few outdoor ranges that have close-up pistol bays. So Americans just typically shoot at those closer distances, not because they don't appreciate marksmanship out to further distances or can't do it. I think it's more from a practical standpoint and American gun culture that is very carry-centric. Does that make any sense? So if you are wondering, why do I choose the distances I do for my various tests? It's for that reason. Because of who my audience is and the way I think an average gun person like yourself, and I think most people that watch my channel are just average gun people, would use their firearm. Now, I can't encompass everything. I can't test a firearm for every circumstance, but I try to play a probabilities game with my choices. So I hope that answers the question. And for those of you that think that maybe my tests are not valid because I shoot at closer distances for some of them, well, I've given you a reason why. And as I've mentioned in some of my previous videos, it's okay if you disagree with me, but I will try to tell people the whys. Not the whats and the hows, but the whys. So hopefully that's opened your eyes a little bit. So let me know if you have any other questions regarding that or the tests that I choose. And also, if you have any recommendations for how I can change my videos or what I need to do differently, I'm always open to suggestions. So if you have any ideas, it doesn't mean I can implement them or that they're practical. But if somebody says, hey, you should do this for this reason, you never know, I am trying to grow and get better at this as much as I'm trying to educate you guys. And I love the dialogue that we have. I like to learn from you as much as hopefully you guys like to learn from me. So that's what that's all about. So the answer to that question. All right, I have one more thing I want to talk about because I was absolutely humbled this weekend by my friend, and his name is John Petrolino. Now, the reason I'm using his last name is that he is a published author. If you go look him up, you'll see him writing in some of the big online gun news sources and magazines. I've heard him referenced on shows like Tim Pool and things. While he was not a guest, his articles were read at big news outlets. And he's a very prolific gun writer, and he does a lot of stuff for Second Amendment advocacy. And he's reached out to me in the past. I know he's a follower of my channel, and when my original YouTube channel was taken down, he actually interviewed me, and there's an article out there about me and my channel. And For some reason, and I don't get this, he thinks I'm a bigger deal than what I actually am. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I have a little sign out here that my wife got me a long time ago. And I think it's funny. I don't think people can really see it in many of my videos, but it says, I'm kind of a big deal. But the truth is, I'm not a big deal. I'm really a nobody. My main channel has, 33,000 subscribers as I'm filming this. You know, when I lost my original channel, it was like 43,000. So I'm almost back to where that was. And I get comments all the time from people in the gun industry and people that follow my channel saying I should be a lot bigger than what I actually am. And those honestly humble me tremendously. And I actually get a little bit anxious when people say that, because the more eyes that are on me, the more expectations I think people have. And then I feel the need to meet those expectations. So if my channel had 100,000 subscribers and it wasn't necessarily something that I slowly built up to, it's kind of overwhelming. And I'm able to, at this point, to answer every comment I get on my channels. But I know if I had 100,000 subscribers, I can't. And I would feel like I'm losing the personal connections that I have. And then once again, the more people that watch me, well, you can easily point out the mistakes that I make. And I make mistakes all the time. And I am totally willing to admit when I make a mistake. In fact, I'll tell you a recent one, okay? I reviewed the O-Sight by Olight. What was it? The O-Sight SE, the one with like the removable battery compartment. And in that video, I think a couple times I mentioned, I sure wish they included extra battery compartment screws. And I didn't see them in the box. They were not in the packaging when it came to like where all of the other hardware is. But lo and behold, underneath the disassemble or the assembly or the, what is it called? The adjustment tool and the installation tool, underneath a piece of tape that is kind of translucent, it's not clear, lo and behold, there were 2 extra screws. And I didn't see them. I did not see them. I unboxed it on camera. They were kind of hidden from me. And I just missed them. And people were like, you missed that. You should take down this. Like, no, I'm not going to take down the video. I will admit in the comment section when the people say, hey, you got that wrong. You know what? I got it wrong. I missed it. I miss stuff with guns all the time. And I would know that if I had way more viewers and way more eyeballs on me, the pressure not to make those mistakes would be kind of overwhelming. But anyway, let me get back to my story. John Petrolino, for some reason, thinks I'm a bigger deal than I actually am. And I told him, I said, listen, I tell him all the time, listen, I only got like 32,000 subscribers. I'm a nobody. He goes, you would be surprised who watches your channel. And I do know that, because I do know that I have like presidents of firearms companies that watch my channel. I'm constantly overwhelmed when people reach out that are kind of big names. But anyway, he invited me and he asked me, he goes, hey, are you going to be at the gun policy conference in Salt Lake City in, I forgot, like September or something? I'm like, no, I've never even been to a gun convention. The closest thing I've ever been to anything like that would be like a big gun show. Like, I've never gone to an actual specific convention. Even when the NRA convention was here in Dallas a few years ago, I didn't go to it. I've just never been to anything like that. And it's because I'm kind of an introvert. And in general, I don't find conferences and big exhibition things to be fun for me. And they can be a little bit overwhelming, and it's just a lot of busy stuff. And I don't know. I know a lot of people go there to network and so forth. But I said, no, John, I'm not going to be there. And he goes, well, your name was floated by some people, and it wasn't him. It was other people that said I needed to be on a panel. I guess it was a panel. He asked me to be like a speaker or a presenter at that conference. And I was like, well, what in the world could I possibly offer to the gun policy conference? I mean, the national conference, because I'm just a gun reviewer that doesn't even know what he's doing. I'm not in the gun industry. I'm a teacher. I'm not a lawyer. I don't, do anything in guns. I'm just a guy in his garage on one channel with a cell phone like this one, and then on the other channel with a little vlogging camera, and I'm a one-man show. What can I offer? And he said that it would be very enlightening or to present and have people ask questions about creating gun content online organically that is not promoted by the industry. So, for example, a lot of the big gun channels, and I am in no way jealous or upset about this or any of that. I don't look at it and go, wow, that's what I want to be. And I know people misconstrue that thinking because I make content, I want to be big. But a lot of these big channels, once you reach a certain critical mass of viewership, all of a sudden you start to notice that they get sponsors. Not that that's bad, but big sponsors. You see them get flown around the country to do presentations, or to be at certain conventions. You start to see, people promoted or being represented by talent agencies. If you're ever curious about the big talent agency in the firearms world, go look up the Leviathan Group. Okay. So a lot of these content creators don't tell you about what goes on behind the scenes. And that is in no way a bad thing. I'm just telling you, for a lot of your big channels, even though they may present themselves as just being the guy next door, like, I am here, just, talking to his phone in his garage, they're really not. They're actually big productions. I've heard from multiple sources that like people like Colion Noir, who's local to Dallas here, he has quite a big staff that he hires and does just his content. He has social media people, he has a cameraman, he has an editor, he has people that do all these different things for him. And it might look like it's just him and his buddy or just him, and it's not. It is a full-time production that is big-time money, and that's why, and I'm happy for him. He has his t-shirts he sells, he has his promotions with like the hearing protection stuff. It's awesome. I'm so happy for him. But it misrepresents what he is. But I'm not saying it's bad. Please don't say that. So people, he said, want to know what it's like to do what I do. Essentially, how do you grow a channel? Why do you do what you do? How do you create scripts? If I create scripts, how do I decide what I'm going to talk about? How do I do this? Because it would educate people and possibly firearms manufacturers or other people in the business regarding maybe other ways that they can reach people, or the way people that maybe want to promote the Second Amendment could do it on their own. And I was humbled he asked. Now, they're not going to pay me to go out there. There's no compensation involved or any of that. But unfortunately, it's kind of like when school starts and all that kind of stuff. And as a teacher, I can't really leave. It'd be on a weekend, but I just can't leave and spend that money to go to a conference. But I was honored that somebody would ask. I was like, I don't know, man. It'd be a lot of time away from work. Well, okay, it'd be like 2 or 3 days away from work, and there's travel, and I got to get a hotel room. And honestly, I'd be so anxious to be on some panel and have people ask me questions. And as I said, I don't think I'm worthy of adding anything to the conversation. What could I add? There's nothing out there. And I even told John, I said, the people really to ask this would be the people that have the big channels. Maybe not like the gigantic channels, people that have like 1 million subscribers or anything, but reach out to the channels that have already gotten over that threshold. Maybe they're in the 100,000 to 200,000 viewer range or subscriber range, because they can tell you more about that journey. And a lot of them grew those subscribers a lot faster than me. And that's because they're more charismatic and they were able to figure out things algorithmically with YouTube, or they were able to figure out things when it comes to content or the way that they create it and present it that might be more beneficial than just a guy in his garage with a vlogging camera, his camera, and doing all the thumbnails, all the editing, all the filming by himself in the middle of the night. I mean, I don't think I can really add anything. So anyway, to say that I was humbled by that offer was amazing. He says there's going to be some other people reaching out to me. And who knows if that actually happens, but it's really cool. It's cool to network. It's cool to meet people, but I never feel worthy of any of that attention. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about that and tell you what's kind of going on behind the scenes, and that I was asked to speak at the Gun Policy Conference in Salt Lake City. So anyway, let me know what you guys think about anything I talked about tonight regarding the distances in which I test guns and shoot and film content, all the way up to a gun policy conference. So if you made it to the end of this super long video, the word of the day is humble. Humble or humbled? Because I am humbled that people watch my content, enjoy my content. But right, not everyone does, man. I still get some mean comments. I haven't made a mean comments of the week in a while. But I'm humbled when people that I respect, or the people that are bigger in the gun industry, say they enjoy what I do. So it's amazing, and I feel totally unworthy. So there you go. So let me know what you think about any of that. And as always, thanks for watching.